Shane the Shy, the most infuriating boss ever. Many games have reoccurring villains. Sometimes these are minor enemies that you enjoy fighting, sometimes they're incredibly powerful bosses that test you and then let you live for inscrutable reasons. Sometimes it's because they are very, very hard to kill. Shane was one of the latter sort, and he was the most infuriating and unsatisfying enemy I have ever fought, because he had just about the best survival trait an evil character can have. He wasn't invincible, he wasn't persistent, he didn't have some magical immortality, he didn't even have some sort of amazingly competent henchman. What Shane had was cowardice. You may complain about how a villain is monologuing too much, or how he's too strong to fight, how his behavior makes no sense, but take it from me, it's far preferable to an enemy that just fucking runs away the second you get close. Paranoia and cowardice are survival traits, and if the enemy survives, you didn't win. There's no second place in boss fights. We all laugh about the big guy chasing the small, fast one around, yelling, "Fair fight!" But it's just so goddamn infuriating when you're that guy. There's nothing quite as bad as getting within an inch of success and then having it all evaporate and start over again. We first encountered Shane when looking for some work as newbie adventurers. He hired us to look for some old record books in an abandoned and overrun garrison prison. We went over, killed the local monsters, found the book, inspected them to make sure they weren't actually tomes of evil world-ending magic. They weren't. Then turned them in and got paid. It was a perfectly normal, low-level fetch quest. And between our other adventures, he offered us more contracts, almost exactly like it. We kept doing them. It was a good way to shake out our new characters, bringing Shane a steady supply of old record books, heirlooms, and art pieces, until one day when he said he was done and left the city. A few weeks later, the entire nation devolved in a civil war centered around a bunch of dukes pushing a claim of a previously unknown heir to the kingdom. We fought in the war long enough to establish that both sides were utter assholes, and that this sort of soldiering was a lot more likely to get us killed than get us rich, then skipped off for a more stable country to hang out in. Now, we'd all been at this long enough to suspect the documents and such that we were gathering were the cause for the war, and a little research confirmed it. But we didn't put Shane down as anything but a procurer for the asshole dukes. He confirmed this when we met him again in the next country and offered us a job finding some magical objects while we got back on our feet. Since Shane had never screwed us on a job, we didn't really have anything against him personally. He made a pretty good case about just being a middleman and assured us that there was no way that anything we were getting for him this time could be used to start a civil war. So we took the job. Once again, we verified that we weren't fetching anything overly nefarious, then turned the stuff in, got paid. This time, it was just magical artifacts used for agriculture. Between bouts of serious quests, we kept doing these little fetch missions for agricultural artifacts, until one day, Shane told us his contract was finished and we moved on again. When we came back from our mission to kill some evil wizard off in the boonies, we found the entire country suffering from a famine due to some sort of magical invasive plant species. We helped the locals hunt down a bunch of nutty druids who were using the artifacts we found to help grow the plants, and we put Shane on our to-do list. We figured that the 2 nation-level disasters in a row were a bit much to put down as a coincidence. Innocent middleman or not, Shane was not good for the general health of the world. So, we got to the next country, and Shane once again offered us a job. We went to his new office planning to interrogate and kill him. Unfortunately, the second we started to get unpleasant, he hit a panic button, jumped out the window, and ran faster away than any of us could follow. We tracked him to a mansion and made another attempt, except this time there were some pretty nasty evil goons to fight us. We fought our way through them to his rooms, where we expected some sort of monologue about his nefarious plans and a battle where he proved to be far more powerful than he looked. Instead, we found an open escape passage to the now empty stables. We weren't able to track him this time, and anyway, we had some far more serious problems to deal with, but he was on the list. As soon as everything above him on the list was taken care of, we were going to wreck his shit. And after a few sessions, it was, so we started looking. But it was really quite hard to find someone who knows he's being hunted and isn't doing anything obviously nefarious. So we could sort of track him by the chaos he caused. We got to the point where we just assumed that any plague, war, famine, magical disaster was caused by him. The problem was he always left before everything went to shit, and nothing he did was obviously evil. Hell, all he did in One Nation was start a gold rush. No one thinks of an enthusiastic prospecting firm as an evil doom cult. That is until a red dragon shows up to take ownership of the newly wealthy nation. The problem with following Shane around is that we usually wound up sorting out the current mess while he went out and started the next one. He was like the dickish in-game embodiment of a DM, planning the next encounter while we took on the current one. Even when we sorted things out quickly, or occasionally just ignored them, and correctly guessed where he went next, the second he noticed us getting close, he would abandon everything and change his identity. He also usually set up something nasty for us on the way out, like assassins or nice framing. It was infuriating chasing him, and it was even worse when we got close. We actually caught up with him a few times, but the bastard was paranoid as hell, and always seemed to have one more escape route than we planned for, and he was retardedly fast and stealthy. After everything was over, we looked at his character sheet. The DM was keeping him leveled with us, and he was a multi-classed character focused on nothing except running, hiding, and using items. The only things he used offensively were several ranks of knowledge and some diplomacy skills. Any single character in our group could have easily killed him if we could only catch him, but we couldn't. His complete abandonment of any offensive abilities meant he was faster and sneakier than us. Finally, to top it all off, almost no one would believe us. Everyone thought we were a bit crazy, and to be fair, some of us were, and didn't believe it when we insisted that everything that went wrong was an indirect result of Shane. We knew it was, though. No matter how many party members died and got replaced, the party as a whole always knew it was all Shane's fault. So we chased him, we had adventures, and chased him, and saved the world, and chased him some more, until one day we got access to Time Stop. We had been waiting for this for a long time. We had planned for this day so hard it was incredible. The war chest we had assembled just for killing Shane was enormous, and we used it all. We hired thieves, we hired wizards, we bribed guards, we called in every divine favor we could. We even made deals with the evil doom cults that Shane might work for. The paladin was ready to fall. The warlock was ready to repent his sins and seek redemption. The bard was ready to swear off women and wine, whatever the hell it took to nail this slimy bastard to the wall. We tracked him down by waiting for the next disaster to strike, then ignoring it, and watching all the nearby nations for low-level adventurers being hired to collect things or new businesses opening. We noticed a major city that started building more flammable industrial buildings than usual, and some adventurers collecting some weather control artifacts. We knew he was planning some sort of giant fire or something and didn't give a shit. All we cared about was making sure it took long enough for us to catch up to him. We had middlemen hire other middlemen to hire the best thieves to follow these adventurers and figure out where Shane worked, then where he lived. Once we knew that, we got the best casters we could to feel out his magical defenses and help us counter them when we went in. Sure, we could have just had everyone nuke the place to the ground, but we had to be certain he was dead and not just hiding through a portal or something. We were going to kill him where we could see it happen and make sure it was done right. We went through one of the escape tunnels while our hirelings covered every other exit or entrance we could find. We snuck up the door to his room, blew it open, and had our caster use Time Stop. Shane had almost finished reading his own scroll of Time Stop. I can't imagine the rage we would have felt if he had gotten his off first. I probably would have killed our dungeon master. Our wizard dumped every magical restraint that he could on him and grabbed him for good measure. Then the rest of us came through the door like El Presidente's SWAT team and dogpiled the little fucker. We stripped him of everything he wore and then scanned him for magic. Then surgically, we removed a few things he was carrying inside of him, healed him up, and scanned again. We hit him with an anti-magic field and scanned again. Removed 3 things we'd missed on the first pass, and then hauled him out of there. We hauled him to a completely empty building outside of the city, only pausing to tell our minions to kill everyone inside. Strip the place entirely, and then level whatever they couldn't take, and report to us at a location which we didn't plan to actually meet them at, just in case they were followed. We used divine magic to make him tell us the truth and got his entire story, along with a complete list of all of his associates and the atrocities he had facilitated. Then we made a contract with the strongest devil we could handle to keep him from ever communicating with anyone in the afterlife, and to get him raped with spiky fucking dicks every fucking second of all eternity, and killed him. God, that felt good. Then we went about dismantling everything he had ever done, wiping all records of him from existence. We didn't even leave a body to bury. We sure as hell didn't want some nutters worshipping him, or trying to save him across time or something. We just wanted him gone. Forever. There was no aspect of him which we thought should be remembered. Nothing about him justified ever mentioning him again. We deleted that fucker and made him an unperson. He didn't even have a good excuse for all the damage he caused. He was just a rich, bored sociopath. It's not like he had an evil divine mission or something. He just woke up one day and decided to dedicate his life to being a complete and utter dick to everyone. He wanted to make as much overall suffering as possible, and decided the best way to do it was to sit there and help every little doom cult or wannabe overlord or rebellious noble carry out their stupid plans. He had never personally killed anyone. He just arranged things. He was such a complete and utter tool, it took all the fun out of fighting him, and almost took all the fun out of killing him. Almost. After we went full Inquisition on Shane, we weren't exactly popular. No one had believed what we were saying about the guy before, and now that he was dead, we weren't going to bother trying to convince them. We just left and started hunting down every name we got from Shane, fixing everything he started setting up but hadn't finished. After we got rid of the last dread overlord that Shane had helped set up, the list was empty, and we all retired and handed control of the party over to the apprentices that helped us clean up the last of the mess. Things generally got better for the world. There's still shitty stuff going on, but it isn't quite as bad as it used to be.